Is homeschooling becoming the thing to do? Is it a trend for modern day families, or maybe just another way to keep up with the Joneses? Or is it actually something that's becoming more popular because of the many ways that enriches family dynamics? Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I can share three main ways that we have found homeschooling has enriched our family. And I'll also share with you some surprising statistics that you may not have known about homeschooling. Thanks for tuning in to the Mama Disciple podcast. I'm your host, Rihanna Sanford. I'm a homeschooling and special needs mom. I'm a health advocate, and most importantly, a disciple of Christ. I help mamas better steward their health, their roles as mamas, and most importantly, I encourage you as a fellow sister and disciple of Christ. Today, we're going to talk about homeschooling and three main ways that we have found that it has enriched and improved, I would say, our family dynamics along these last 11 years. Hopefully, if you stay to the end, you will be able to determine whether or not homeschooling could be right for your family or not. But first, do me a favor and hit that like button. I'm so excited about all the mamas that have started to follow me over these last couple of weeks. We have now tripled the size of our page from the beginning. But I have found that 95% of you who are probably watching this video right now have not yet subscribed. So if you have not yet subscribed to my page, I would so appreciate if you would do that. It helps YouTube throw this video and other videos that I do out to more of those mamas who are looking for information like what I share to help other mamas who are wanting to steward their roles better as mamas and wanting to live healthier and overall be an encouragement to a whole lot more moms. So thank you for subscribing and thank you for supporting this channel. You have probably seen and heard many more families are homeschooling, especially since 2020. We started homeschooling way back in 2014, well before any pandemic. And I would say well before there was kind of a mass exodus from the public school districts across this nation. I'll go into a little bit more detail as to why we turned to homeschooling. But what I really want to share with you guys are the three main ways that we have found homeschooling has totally enriched our family's dynamics, and why we will never regret making that decision. Number one, the first way that homeschooling has really enriched our family is in how it has given us more quality time. As you know, you don't get this time back with your children. They're only young once. And these years that they're living under your roof are the most formative years of their lives. So it has meant so much for us to have the 8 hours of quality time that they would have otherwise been in someone else's presence. Instead, we had the ability to spend most of the days, right? Most of their days, most of their hours, most of their waking hours with them, to get to know them better, to really be able to know what is it that makes them click, to be able to see more of how God has created them. And that has all been material that we have been able to use even now as they are adolescents and adults, to help support them on the path and on the journey that God has created them for. The conversations, the life lessons, the many hours at the park, we really have had the pleasure, of exploring with them, discovering things together, and so many laughs, right, over these last 11 years. Overall, that all adds up to just increasing the quality of our relationships with our boys over these last 11 years. Number two, freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean freedom in time and method. When I say the freedom of time and method, I'm talking about the way in which we used our time with them. We were a family that really needed more flexibility of time for the simple reason the boys' sister, our daughter, she was in and out of hospital. She was in and out of doctors' clinics and things of that nature. There were times where we really the rigid hours of, having to have kids at school at a certain time, having to pick them up at a certain time, the assignments and the homework and whatnot, that was not something that went well with our lifestyle because of the fact that we had a child with severe special needs. And there were times where we had to be in the hospital. There were times where we, you know, we didn't have time to think about turning in homework assignments and things of that nature. And so when we decided to homeschool, we noticed that we had so much more freedom to just be able to do school as our lifestyle allowed us to. And some weeks we didn't do school at all. And some weeks we did school while we were in doctor's clinics and or hospital rooms. We were able to have the freedom that our family needed in order to be able to continue to thrive as a family. Also, the method in which we wanted to homeschool. There are things that about the cookie cutter way of educating students that the public school system used that just did not mesh with my students or with my children. So, for example, Alexander learns best when he is able to be active, right? He learns best when he can touch things, when he can be up and walking around. He does not do well sitting for long periods of time. And that classroom structure of just having to sit and listen, especially early on, was very difficult for him. So at home, we were able to find ways to help him to learn in the ways that was best and most efficient for him. And we have found that he has thrived now. Now, yes, at the age of 18, he is able to sit and listen and learn for longer periods of time. But we were able to go at the pace that he needed to learn to do that. And he still is able to get up and pace and move around. If he's reading, he'd rather get up and pace while he's reading, or he'd rather be studying for a test while he's looking at a study guide while he's up and pacing. For whatever reason, that just helps his mind to work better. And we learned that really early on with him, that he was just going to need a different kind of environment for what was going to be best and most effective for the way that he learns. Not just with him, but with both of our boys, creating an environment that was best for them here at home, and getting to teach them and educate them in the method that was going to work best for them has been really, really helpful, not just for their learning and their education, but they saw that they could get from us, from mom and dad, what it was that they needed. And they could sense that they were thriving, that they were excelling in school and in their education because we were able to provide that environment for them. That builds trust in their relationship with their parents. That built a certain amount of security with us as a family, because they understood we knew them that well. We could provide what it was that they needed to help them grow, mature, and overall excel. The third way in which we have found homeschooling has helped to enrich our family dynamics. This is probably one of the most, it's probably to us one of the most important ways, if not the most important way, and that is discipleship. Obviously, when you go to a public school, you are not able to have Bible lessons or biblical values taught to your children. Well, as a Christian family, obviously that is something that was really, really important to us. Other things might be taught to them in the public school system. We didn't want to compromise with what would be taught and what wouldn't be taught in the public school system. So we were able to have conversations, and able to guide and disciple them in spiritual things as a result of them being home with us every day, all day. Again, going back to the fact that this is the only time that we have with them to help formulate those things in them that we know God is looking to us to be able to do, right? God is looking to us as stewards of those children and their lives, to teach them those things and to carry that on throughout the generation. So we took that very, very seriously. It's kind of like it's now or never. It's now or never. And we did not, for a long time, we did what most Christian families do. And we thought that it was enough to just send them to children's church, let them have their animal crackers and their juice, right? Or send them to youth group. Let that be the way that they learned about spiritual things. For a while, we carried on in that way. And then we realized that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. We could see that it wasn't enough to really instill and really help to support biblical values in their lives. When we started to find ways to incorporate apologetics and Bible history and those things in their actual school day, because there are a lot of things we could educate them about, but what, as a Christian family, there's not a whole lot of things that's more important than learning about how to be a disciple of Christ and learning about the Bible and having a biblical worldview about things. Now I want to share maybe some stats with you. These are some things that even for me, like I knew to some degree. One of those stats that I want to share with you is about homeschooling in general and the different people groups. 41% of homeschooling families are actually non-white. They're Black, Asian, Hispanic, and other non-white demographics. And so that's something that I thought was really, that number is higher than I thought that it might have been. But I can tell you for sure, and it's not surprising because of the fact that every homeschool co-op that I've ever been a part of has always included non-white families. And so it doesn't matter who you are. Homeschooling is for everybody. It depends on what your children and what your family needs. And so I hope that encourages you if you're someone who's not white, and you've been assuming that homeschooling is for white people for whatever reason. I want to challenge you on that mindset. Homeschooling is for any family who desires to teach their children in a different way than maybe what the public school system might teach them. Especially if the Lord is leading you to do that, allow Him to show you how. He is a provider, and He can provide ways for you to be able to educate your children at home. One other statistic that I want to share with you: home educated students typically score 15 to 25 percentile points above public school students on standardized academic achievement tests. And a 2015 study found that Black homeschool students are scoring 23 to 42 percentile points above Black public school students. So it makes me wonder why there are so many politicians who aren't more supportive of school choice when it's obvious that public school isn't just not cutting it, is just not giving so many students the best education possible. Okay, one more stat for you that I'm going to share. 87% of these peer-reviewed studies show that socially, emotionally, and psychologically, students are faring better in homeschool environments over public school environments. I wonder why. Regardless of if you homeschool or not, or if you feel called to homeschool or not, this is what I want you to keep in mind. You are always, okay? You are always a teacher, especially to your children. You were actually anointed and appointed to teach and instruct your child. You cannot be a parent without that being a part of your job description. You are a teacher by default. I want you to make sure that you understand that. It doesn't matter whether you have a degree in this or a degree in that, okay? Just let God use you as a vessel in the lives of your children, and understand that He can empower you to help you to know what it is that your children need and how to give them what they need during these formative, most important years of their lives. I'm always amazed at how God has used both my husband and I in our children's lives. And I just can't say enough how grateful I am that He led us and impressed upon us that we should homeschool our children, because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our children are better. Our children are more ready to face this world as a result of them, of all of the quality time, all of the freedom that we were able to have in our day with one another, and all of the discipleship time that we've had with them. All of those things I know has really helped to enrich them and make them more ready to walk down the path that God has created them for. And it makes me smile. It makes me smile when I think about them and how excited I am for their future. And I have no regrets at all. No regrets looking back at all of those hours we got to spend with one another, and get to be such a huge part of their lives on a daily basis. But I want to encourage you, remember, you are absolutely made for this, and stop doubting yourself. No more stinking thinking. If you are a parent and you are a mom, you were made for the role of teaching in some way, shape, or form. So don't ever doubt that. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. Be sure to join us next time. And remember that holy stewardship is about managing well what belongs to God so that He can bless others through your obedience. Bye for now.